What's up? My name is Max Sinclair here yet again, and I'm going to be talking about conversion value in Google Ads.
What are you talking about?
So what is that? Why does it matter? How to set it up and how to figure it out for your business. My name is Max Sinclair, as I say, and I'm founder of Snowball Creations, a paid ads agency, so that's why I talk about this stuff all the time. And in this particular video, we're going to be talking about conversion value, which is a particular metric that you set up within your Google Ads. It really is extremely important to get this done, and many people don't even bother. They'll go live with just conversion tracking and not bother with the conversion value, which is really helpful to understand if you really are actually getting the results that you need to be making a profit and make better decisions. So let's start with the beginning of it. What actually is it? So the conversion value is a thing that you'll pull in, preferably we generally will use Google Analytics with Google Ads, where we set up the tracking within Google Analytics, and then we import all of the conversions data from Analytics. And as part of that goal setup process, you can set a value. So for example, if we were a hiring company, maybe each person that fills out an application to get a job filled is worth £200, we would put £200 into that form. Or let's say, for example, with eCommerce, conversion value is much more obvious because it's literally directly eCommerce value. So it's how much was that basket worth when that person made a purchase to complete that conversion of a purchase. So we're trying to mimic as close as we can to what that value is, similar to how e-commerce works. So that's firstly what it is. And why is it important? To go into a bit more detail on this, you really want to be thinking,
Why?
Why do I care about what the value is? Because if you just have the number of conversions, let's say it's my agency, say if we were running Google Ads and we're trying to get a lead in, let's say we get 5 leads in a month. Does that mean we've won or does that mean we've lost? Well, let's say if we spent £1,000 to get those 5 leads, again, we don't really know anything other than trying to track those leads obviously on the other side. But within Google Ads itself, at the very least, we can't see anything other than just what the average cost per lead was. That's one bit of data that we have. But in the actual interface, it doesn't tell you what our ROAS is or anything like that because it doesn't know. Google Ads doesn't have a figure. Whereas if we were to set up the average value per lead, so let's say, for example, for us, the average value per lead is actually around £400. And so that is something that we can put into the Google Analytics tracking system, and then that gets imported into Google Ads. And then each time we're going to get a lead, that £400 registers to that lead. And so this is really important because then if we know that we've, say, had 5 leads over the month and we spent £1,000 on our ads, that's 5 times, say, £400, for example. So we know that we have made much more revenue than that £1,000 in ad spend. And assuming that money that we make was profit, that means that we actually are considerably profitable at that moment. And so we can keep doing more and more Google Ads and know that ultimately, for at least as long as it stays similar to that, we are in a profitable situation, and so it's worth doing. Because if ultimately something isn't making you money, then it's not worth doing. That's business. It's business 101. So that's the kind of why it matters. So how do you actually figure out the conversion value? This bit is not as straightforward as some people. I think some people just get a bit mixed up with it, possibly. So really what you have to do is kind of go through your purchase, your kind of customers' averages in terms of the sales cycle. So let's say you get a lead in, let's say it's like calls booked, or let's say it's an inquiry form. Actually, that's the most simple example. So someone fills out an inquiry form, and then you have to find out what is the average percentage of inquiry forms that convert into a sale. So let's say if it's 1 in 10. So then 1 in 10 inquiry forms that get filled out turn into a sale. So then you know that your average conversion rate is 10%. So let's say, for example, you have each sale, you then go up to the next level or down to the next level in the funnel, and you look at the average sale value. So to get the average sale value, obviously you just take all of the different sales that you've had over all of your different clients, let's say over the last year or whatever data set that you have, and then you average that out so that you end up with an average value per sale. So then you take your average value per sale, let's say it's like £1,000, and then you've got your 10% conversion rate from leads into calls, into sales, sorry. That would be £100 value in total per lead, thanks to we know how many convert into calls and what the average, sales, and what the average sale value is. So this all together means that we now know that the average lead is worth £100. And the lead you can track within Google Analytics, because Google Analytics is in your website. So someone fills out a form, you use Google Analytics to track the end URL, for example, like the thank you page that they get sent to is normally the safest way. And then what we'll do is set that £100 within Google Analytics as the conversion value. That gets imported into Google Ads, and then that figure is used through all of the rest of your Google Ad campaigns. So that allows you to do all sorts of different things. Like you can technically do things like ROAS targeting. We often would do a target CPA anyway, more often for lead gen, but there's lots of different approaches that works in different scenarios. And really, it's the most important thing is you just be able to see for yourself. If you're running 6 different campaigns, one is trying to get you calls, one's trying to get you lead forms, one is trying to get you, doing different angles on it, like the American market versus the UK market or something else like that. You can judge those much better rather than just the pure number of conversions by having the value as well. It's also great because you can split this up into not just the contact form, for example, but the calls booked form, the download a guide form. For example, for us as a business, we have things like guides that we give out for free. So they have a value to us because people join our communities, our owned audiences. And then we also have an inquiry form, and that's a little bit more value because people are directly trying to get in touch. And then we have calls booked, which is a higher kind of level of commitment from somebody, and we're really going to get to talk to someone. So we have a different value built into our system for each of those different levels. So that means that whenever you run any campaign, your system will automatically just pick up whichever one those people are using and then register the right value for each of those things. So this is how you can really do much better decision making. You can have much better data to make those decisions with your Google Ads with conversion value. So I think one last point I'll make is the amount of data you have. So of course, best case scenario, you have like millions of people coming into your website and you have hundreds and hundreds of conversions going into every single type of conversion that you could hope for, and you're making like hundreds of sales every month. And then that means that you have loads of data, so you can get really good averages on what an average customer looks like, what an average, conversion rate is, and you've been running as a business for 10 years. Of course, that's not often the case. And very often, especially if you're watching videos like this, you might be earlier on in your journey, so you don't know yet. So you just have to go off the best data that you have. You need to use a bit of common sense, so don't just go off the data. Sometimes you might just get one really big sale, but really you know that you're not going to get most sales like that. That was a kind of weird outlier. So don't just go off the data, put a bit of common sense into it at the beginning, and then over time you can improve on that and readjust and look back again and say, okay, over the last 2 months that we've been running, it's this. But then in 6 months' time, you do it again and you look back over the last 8 months, and then that's more of a real number probably. Plus, you improve. Like let's say you improve your sales conversion from 10% to 20% just because you get better at selling. So that will adjust all of those figures as well, and the conversion value will change with that. So you always want to keep this up to date. That's the last point I'll make. But I hope this has helped. It really is crucial for anyone running Google Ads to get this set up for B2B lead gen. E-commerce, of course, just get e-commerce tracking set up. If you would like a video which was more actually setting this up, like to go into Google Analytics and how I basically connect that into Google Ads to have all of your conversion tracking set up, then leave a comment and I'd love to make that for you. And otherwise, I hope this does come in of use. And I will see you next Wednesday.